Boston. The summer of 1920. Outside a narrow office on School Street, the line stretches around the block and folds twice around the corner. Dock workers holding pay envelopes, clerks, police officers on duty, widows carrying life savings sewn into the linings of their coats. They are not here for a bank. They are here for one man. A 5'2" Italian immigrant with a straw boater, a gold-tipped cane, and a smile the newspapers can't stop printing. His promise is simple. Give him your money, and in 45 days he will hand it back, plus 50%. In 90 days, he'll double it. He says he's found a loophole in the international mail system. A legal one. He says the bankers just aren't smart enough to see it. At his peak, this man is taking in $250,000 a day, over $4 million in today's money, every single day, in cash, hauled in laundry baskets. In 8 months, he collects the equivalent of $250 million from 40,000 people. There is no loophole. There never was. His name is Charles Ponzi. And the scheme that destroyed a city's savings didn't die with him. It took his name, and it is running somewhere near you right now. Carlo Pietro Giovanni Guglielmo Tebaldo Ponzi is born in 1882 in Lugo, Italy, to a family that had money once and never stopped talking about it. His mother still uses the title Donna. The money itself is long gone. They scraped together enough to send him to the University of Rome. His wealthy classmates treat university as a holiday, and Carlo, desperate to belong, spends 4 years keeping up with them. Cafes, theaters, card games. He leaves with no degree and no money. In November 1903, at 21, he lands in Boston with $2.50 in his pocket. On the crossing, he'd gambled away everything else. He would later tell reporters with that smile, "I landed in this country with $2.50 in cash and $1 million in hopes, and those hopes never left me." Remember that line. It's the most honest thing he ever said. For 4 years, he does what broke immigrants do. Dishwasher. Waiter, fired for shortchanging customers. Sign painter. Grocery clerk. Up the coast, down the coast. Nothing sticks because Carlo Ponzi does not want a wage. He wants the mansion, the motor car, the respect his mother's stories promised him. In 1907, he surfaces in Montreal, working as a teller at Banco Zarossi, a bank built to serve Italian immigrants. Its owner, Luigi Zarossi, pays 6% interest on deposits, double the going rate. Ponzi watches how he does it. Zarossi isn't earning 6%. He's paying old depositors with new depositors' money. Take a moment and appreciate this. The man whose name would become synonymous with this exact fraud learned it as an employee, watching his boss do it. Banco Zarossi collapses. Zarossi stuffs a suitcase with cash and flees to Mexico. Ponzi stays behind, broke again, and one afternoon, in the office of a former Zarossi customer, he finds a checkbook. He writes himself a check for $423.58, forges the signature, buys new clothes. He's caught in days. When police ask him about it, he shrugs. "I might as well plead guilty and take my medicine." 3 years in a Quebec prison. He writes his mother that he's found a splendid job as a special assistant to a prison warden. The lie is so smooth she believes it until the day she dies. Released in 1911, he tries to go straight, for about 10 days. Then he's arrested smuggling Italian immigrants across the US border. 2 more years, federal prison, Atlanta. Out of prison, he drifts to Boston, and in 1917 something happens that doesn't fit the pattern. He falls in love. Rose Gnecco, a stenographer, sweet-natured, from a modest Italian family. They marry in 1918. He takes over her father's struggling grocery for a while. It fails. He works as a clerk. And in his spare hours, at a desk in a small office he can barely afford at 27 School Street, he chases scheme after scheme to become the man he promised her he already was. He starts a business directory. It goes bankrupt. And then, in August 1919, a letter arrives from Spain, and inside it is the thing that will make Ponzi a word in the dictionary. Inside the envelope, tucked beside a business inquiry, is a small square of paper called an International Reply Coupon, an IRC. It's a piece of postal plumbing invented in 1906. Buy a coupon in one country, mail it to someone in another, and they can swap it for return postage there. A prepaid reply, usable across borders. Here's what Ponzi notices. The coupon's price was fixed by treaty. Before the First World War tore Europe's currencies to shreds. A coupon bought with devalued Spanish pesetas, or better, Italian lire, costs a fraction of what that same coupon is worth in postage in the United States. Buy coupons cheap in Rome. Redeem them in Boston. The difference, on paper, is over 400%. This is arbitrage, exploiting a price gap between two markets. And technically, it's legal. Ponzi does the math and his hands start to shake. He borrows money, sends it to relatives in Italy, tells them to mail him coupons. And immediately, reality raises its hand with a problem. You can't redeem the coupons for cash, only for stamps. And there is no machine on earth that converts warehouse loads of postage stamps into dollars. The scheme works perfectly for an envelope. It's useless for a fortune. Moving millions through it would mean shipping freighters of coupons past postal officials in 3 countries. An honest man closes the notebook here. Ponzi turns the page because he realizes the coupons don't have to work. The story has to work. It's perfect, exotic enough that no ordinary investor can check it, simple enough to explain in a sentence, and wrapped in the flag of a legal loophole. People love the idea of legally outsmarting the system. December 1919. He founds a company with a name of pure genius, the Securities Exchange Company. He prints promissory notes, 50% interest in 45 days, 100% in 90. The first investors are neighbors, a furniture dealer, men from the North End. In February 1920, he takes in $5,000. He pays the first notes on time, in full, with money from the newer buyers. Exactly the trick he watched Luigi Zarossi pull in Montreal. And paying those first men is the smartest advertising in the world. Because they don't just come back. They bring their brothers, their priests, their whole streets. He hires commission agents, 10% on every dollar they bring in. The pyramid grows a sales force. March, $30,000. May, $420,000. June, millions. By July 1920, the Securities Exchange Company is inhaling $250,000 a day. Tellers stack cash in desk drawers, then in wastebaskets, then in a walk-in vault built for paper, now bursting with it. Ponzi buys control of the Hanover Trust Company, the bank that once refused him a loan. He buys a 12-room mansion in Lexington with air conditioning and a heated pool in 1920. A cream-colored locomobile, the finest car in America. He brings his mother over from Italy, first class. When he walks through the North End, crowds cheer him like a ball player. "You're the greatest Italian of them all," someone shouts. "No," Ponzi says, "Columbus and Marconi. Columbus discovered America. Marconi discovered the wireless. But Charlie," the man yells back, "you discovered money." Stop on those faces a moment. 40,000 people, most of them working poor. They aren't idiots. They're people who watched a man exactly like them, an immigrant, a dishwasher, apparently crack the code. He wasn't selling greed. He was selling proof that the door wasn't locked after all. That's why it worked. That's why it still works. Every scheme like this carries its own executioner inside it. The math is a countdown. 50% every 45 days means the money owed grows faster than any real business on earth can earn. So the machine must either grow forever or die. And in July 1920, the Boston Post starts asking how the machine works. The paper brings in Clarence Barron, the most feared financial analyst in America, the man whose name is still on Barron's magazine. Barron does something no investor in that school street line ever did: arithmetic. For Ponzi's operation to be real, roughly 160 million postal reply coupons would need to be moving between Europe and Boston. The total number in circulation, worldwide, about 27,000. The Post runs it on the front page. And here is where Charles Ponzi shows you why con men are dangerous. He doesn't run. He opens the doors, serves coffee and donuts to the panicked crowd, and pays every single person who wants out, with a smile. Nearly $1 million in 3 days, straight out of the vault. The run stops. Reverses. If he pays this easily, people reason, the Post must be wrong. Some who withdrew get back in line to redeposit. Public opinion swings behind him so hard, he starts talking about running for office. He hires a publicity man, a former newspaperman named William McMasters, to manage the press. It is the worst hire in the history of fraud. McMasters spends a few days inside the operation and realizes there are no coupons. There is no anything, just incoming cash paying outgoing notes, and a boss who is, in his words, a financial idiot who can barely add. On August 2, 1920, the Post publishes McMasters' exposé under his own byline. The great Ponzi is, and always has been, hopelessly insolvent. Ponzi denies, charms, threatens to sue. Then on August 11th, the Post lands the kill shot, his Montreal mugshot. The forged check. The prison time under the name Bianchi. The savior of the small investor is a convicted swindler who learned the trick at a crooked immigrant bank. On August 12, 1920, Charles Ponzi surrenders to federal agents. The books show roughly $7 million in assets against perhaps twice that owed. The accounting is chaos. Nobody will ever fully untangle it. Hanover Trust fails. 5 more banks fall with it. His investors ultimately recover about 30 cents on the dollar, paid out over 8 years. The Boston Post wins the Pulitzer Prize. McMasters is remembered, when he's remembered at all, as the publicist who torched his own client in print. And Rose? Rose visits him in prison every week. You might think the story ends there. It doesn't, because men like Ponzi don't stop. They just find new coupons. Out on bail in 1925, while appealing his state conviction, he surfaces in Florida, in the middle of the great land boom, selling swampland near Jacksonville under the name Charpon Land Syndicate. 200% returns in 60 days. Some of the lots are underwater. Literally. Indicted again, he jumps bail, works as a waiter and dishwasher on a freighter out of Tampa, shaved head, grown mustache, and is caught in New Orleans. From his cell, he sends a telegram to the President of the United States, Calvin Coolidge, asking to be deported as a personal favor. Coolidge declines. He serves his 7 years in Massachusetts. And in October 1934, the country he arrived in with $2.50 deports him back to Italy. 52 years old, bald, heavier, waving his straw boater to reporters from the ship's rail, promising he'd be back with millions. Rose stays in Boston. She had stood by him through everything, but not across an ocean, chasing another scheme. She divorces him in 1937. She works the rest of her life quietly, and when asked about him decades later, says only that he was good to her. Mussolini's Italy gives him a job, through a cousin, as an agent for the state airline in Rio de Janeiro. The war kills the airline. He tutors English, runs a boarding house. His health fails. Heart attack, failing eyesight, then a stroke that leaves him half paralyzed in the charity ward of a Rio hospital. A reporter finds him there in 1948. And Charles Ponzi, dying, gives him a quote with the same smile from School Street. Even if they never got anything for it, it was cheap at that price. Without malice aforethought, I had given them the best show that was ever staged in their territory since the landing of the Pilgrims. It was easily worth $15 million to watch me put the thing over. He dies in January 1949. His estate is $75, just enough to bury him. Here's the thing about Charles Ponzi. He wasn't the first to run this scheme, and he was far from the biggest. Bernie Madoff ran the same machine for $65 billion. Every few years, it returns wearing new clothes, a hedge fund, a crypto token, a passive income opportunity in your DMs. The names change. The math never does. Old money paid with new money, a story too good to check, and a countdown clock nobody hears until it stops. Ponzi's real invention wasn't financial. It was emotional. He discovered that people don't buy returns. They buy hope with a deadline. 40,000 people stood in that line. Ask yourself honestly, with 50% in 45 days, paid out on time, month after month, vouched for by your neighbors, would you have kept walking? Next time on Paper Empires, a man who made Ponzi look like a pickpocket, the Swede who cornered the world's matches, lent money to entire nations, forged $500 million in Italian bonds, and died of a gunshot in a Paris apartment that history still argues about. The Match King is coming. Subscribe so you don't miss him.